Good morning, and thank you for coming for the inaugural edition of Bangalore Rani. And thank you. This is Rani with a double A. And I was just thinking about how we finally made it here. About 6 months ago, we started having the conversation with the team at BIC. And we already have these, initiatives across a couple of other cities. One is called Bombay Valley, and another is called Delhi Valley. And we were talking about how this Bangalore Valley doesn't sound right. There has to be some other way to bring this idea alive. And so we sort of started chatting, and many of the women in the team, and even some of the men, they said, in Bangalore, with love we call people Rani. And I didn't know that, and I'm delighted that we had this input, and so that's how we titled this Bangalore Rani. And maybe that is what I want to start talking about: how the idea of the Rani isn't just power; it's presence and maybe queen energy and attitude. So let's just talk about being Bangalore Rani or Rani Kubra.
I was born in Bangalore. So I feel like today I'm still like Bangalore princess because I spent my formative years in Bangalore, and there is so much contribution that comes from this city itself and the way I was raised and the environment that I was raised in, which was really empowering back in the day. I couldn't recognize it while I was still here. Because I felt there were other environments that were not allowing that amalgamation to happen, right? So there was a lot of pull and push for me. But it's insane. I don't think you really try to make a connection with the city, like how yesterday we were talking about the fact that I feel I have roots in Bangalore, but the connection is something that I'm still working on. But it's so bizarre. I don't think connection is something that you initiate. Connection is something that you kind of flow into and meet. And for me, the connection has always been so alive with everyone who lives in Bangalore. And it's so insane. I can be anywhere in the world. If it's a Bangalorean who's meeting me, I'm a Bangalorean. It's insane. When I land into Bangalore from anywhere in the world, I'm immediately spinning out words in Kannada. So I don't think that I can ever take away the fact that my roots are from here. I was born here. There is something that is so incredibly strong that comes from this city for me. But I really feel she's the Rani. So I think this is the spot where she talks about her queen, energy. And I think for me, this queen energy comes from her. So I would like you, Mom, to talk about being Bangalore Rani. I'm princess.
Good morning, everyone. Uh, that comes only from the Rani. Humbleness. And thank you very much, Shaili, for this. Um, yeah. No,
It's okay, I'll
because
give you a space for the thank you speech.
yeah. No, because this is my uh, debut on stage with Kubra. We have had many word exchange at home on telephone, on video calls, but this is the first time that we are on stage and we are speaking in an audience. So
Really?
Yeah, it's the
yes,
first
I'm
time
feeling
my
very
mom and I.
privileged suddenly. Really, I'm so excited. There are many
yes,
firsts here.
yes. So that's why
Wow.
I feel all the gratitude that I want to extend to you, Shaili. And yeah, born and raised in Mysore, but growing up, it was always between Bangalore and Mysore because every weekend dad would bring us here. I didn't know that this city would make me feel like a queen here because I came from a very, conservative home, very timid, um, spent time on my own, uh, never was a people's person. Uh, I had no friends in Mysore, neither in Bangalore. And then I came here, and um, 11 years into making my own family, I had to wear the crown myself and say, I'm the Rani. And I felt that was an attitude, for me.
Unpack that. This is when you basically became a single mom getting the kids
Yes.
ready for the world.
Yes, that was the time. So that's why I said after a family, in 11 years, I had to do that. And I think in the span of 25 kilometers from, this whole stretch of Airport
Yeah.
Road and also Koramangala and Indranagar, I, I think I touched so many people's heart through my entrepreneurship. And that kind of took me not from here, but it took me miles away from here, whether it is anywhere in India or even people living abroad. They still know. And I was popularly known as auntie. And when I was not even an auntie, I was popularly known as auntie.
You said
And,
entrepreneurship. I think we should tell them that you actually ran a bunch of
yes,
retail stores here.
I had a store called Value Mart in Dumlur, and then I made 4 chain stores of it, and we were one of the top 5 in this central Bangalore belt. My competitors were Nilgiris, Hema Stores, and Food World. These were my competitors here, and MK Ahmed. These were the
Wow.
4 ones, and I was the 5th one in that. I went on my 2-wheeler with my black wind sheeter on my shalwar kameez, and I went with an attitude. I would just go into the Taj with my scooter in the and give it for a valet.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
I really want a valet.
Kubra, when all of this was happening, there was a lot of flux, right, in the family when things change. You could see your mom is like, I'm taking charge. And both you and your brother were sort of finding their feet, perhaps, or just about. It's not, it's expected that you'll have a strong woman in the house who will take charge. It doesn't always happen. What was going on with you when you were seeing these changes at home?
It's really insane because at that point when things are happening to you, there is no way to vocalize it because you don't have language. But I do remember recognizing many years later that we had one spot where the decisions were made, and that was mom. So it was permission, yes, no. That came from mom. And my father became the information desk, where we would make the decision and inform this is the decision that we've taken, and we are doing this. So for me, it was very interesting that all my decisions happened at this point, which meant I needed to have maximum transparency at this point, which also meant that she was she was black and white. So if I say no, it's no. If I say yes, it's yes. And my yeses come with like conditions applied. Yeah, it was always
with an
conditions
example.
applied.
Explain with an example. Like she went around strutting on a scooter.
Yeah.
You didn't have that independence.
No. She
Okay.
eventually got me a bike. So funny, right? Like she was just talking this morning about how she doesn't wear red and how brave she felt to wear red today. This lady got me a red scooty with a red helmet
And a red jacket.
and a red jacket, and all of Bangalore knew it was me. And literally, when I used to be on that bike, and for a minute, you think like I am like superwoman, and I'm gonna race in speed. The cops used to stop me and say, "Ah, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ಮೇಡಮ್? ಯಾಸ್ಮಿನ್ ಅವ್ರ ಡಾಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲ? ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಚಾವಿ ಕೊಡಿ. ಮೇಡಮ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. They would take the chavi, put me in an auto, and send me back. The cops, when I met with an accident, they always knew that the focal point of Danish and Kubra was Yasmin, and they knew where to find her. So there was this time when I met with an accident. The cops took me to the orthopedic. They got me a cast. They put me in the Jeep. And I was telling you, Shelly, they brought me into my mom's supermarket, which was in a basement of Diamond District, with 3 Hoysala cars. There's 3 Hoysala Jeeps. My mom came out rushing, thinking someone's definitely dead. And when she got out, they said, "Oh, we didn't want to scare you. We didn't want to scare you." I was always protected in this city, even beyond the protection that she brought for me. So I had immense freedom, but with this I had freedom, but I was like
With
a
my spies
mosquito in a
around.
mosquito net. Inside the mosquito, inside that space, you're a big mosquito. You think, oh, I have so much space. But you're still having a net of protection. It was really when I left this place when I realized, how do you survive?
So let's talk about survival and leaving. I think one of the things about cities where you grow is that you both associate the comfort of thriving there, but at the same time also perhaps aspire that leaving that city is what will give you the bold life. And you went to Dubai straight from Bangalore.
First plane ride ever.
Oh, from the old airport.
From the old airport, I had never sat in a plane. And that first plane ride of my life
What
was
year
for
was
me to
this?
start my career, 2005. So I've
Wow.
actually been living out of my house independently now for the last 21 years.
2005 is the first time you stepped out and went to Dubai. Why Dubai? What happened there? I mean, by this time you weren't like, I want to be an actor.
No, no, no. I don't think there was anyone in the farthest flungest, like relationship wise, there was nobody in our family who was remotely close to entertainment. So to say the words, I want to be an actor, was nowhere close to reality for us. So there was nothing that we could say. And if God forbid I even thought of it, there was one God knows which uncle who went and failed. So you'll also be failure. So acting was never something that I was confident of saying I would be or do. But I was very confident that I'll make a very good host. I was very comfortable talking. So that's the condition apply that used to come in. I had to go, if I were to host a show in the evening, and my mom used to somehow always be the manager, right? Because all these event agencies would call my mom in her supermarket in the middle of all the phone calls she's taking. She would answer the call and they would be like, Auntie, can Kubra please do this event on Sunday? It's promise. Like it's at 8 p.m. She'll finish it, be home at 10 p.m. And then she used to come, reach out. She used to ask me, what's on Sunday? To be like, I think there's an event happening. So there is nothing on Sunday. She'll be like, no, you need to wake up. You need to clean the house. You need to pray. You need to help me cook. Finish your homework. Submit everything to me. Finish your tuitions. And then you can go host the event. So there was always like, if I finish these 5 items, I can do 1 item of my own choice. And she always encouraged me to be the host. She never considered for once what other people were thinking about, oh, like people used to say, what, she goes and sings in some bar or something, right? And it's very big for a mom to hear this. And I think for her, it was very important that if I were to go out and make decisions for myself, it was in a place where I would truly be independent. And there was zero connection to anyone in the world when I was about to go to Dubai. And it was really an opportunity that she received. I think you should elaborate about that. But it was an opportunity that she received. And
she gave up her visa.
she gave up her visa, her opportunity
Just like, let's
to send me there. And I didn't know that until last evening, by the way.
Yeah, last evening seems to have unraveled lots of new things, which we will now talk about on this stage. As we just discovered, we've got you together for the first time ever in your lives. What happened? When did you decide that,
So
okay?
why Dubai? I don't know. It was
So-
Mumbai for me. But sending me to Dubai
So
was her.
Z Cinema, Z Channel was doing a program where it was like they show somebody's eyes and say, find out which actor is this.
Yeah.
And if you say you win 50,000 rupees.
10,000 rupees, ma.
Yeah, 10 or
Too
whatever.
much easier 50,000. That
Okay,
time also no
whatever.
sponsorship budget.
So they used to just show parts of the face and say, who's this? So she wanted to do that. And they said they're going to pay her like per slot. And she decided 60,000 rupees, that is more than enough for me to live in Bombay. I will go. I said, no, I don't want you to be coming in everybody's living room with this kind of a show. I want you to go to Dubai. First thing, what you will do is you wanted to anchor, you've done it. Now you have to use your degree to make a job that will pay your bills.
What degree was this?
She did her bachelor in business management.
What?
Sorry, finance.
Serious?
Yeah.
I'm educated. I don't
Oh,
act.
Yeah. She did a BBM. So I told her, first you make use of your degree. Let's see later what happens. Right now, I want you to go and get your job, because if you fail here,
So this wasn't an event role that
no,
she
no,
picked.
no. So if you fail in this, then later when you go, you have to answer why after completion of your degree you didn't take up a job for long. So you need to take that opportunity first. And I sent her to Dubai because I know it's a big country, new country, rules are different.
Dubai was country.
Yeah.
We didn't know it is city. We thought it is country.
So I said, no, she has to go there. So she went to Dubai and
And then she learned to
She-
swim with the sharks. This,
Yeah.
this is what
she did.
she needed to do.
She did couple of jobs and finally she got into Microsoft. And that was amazing. And then I go there to visit her. We're sitting in Karama on the street side cafe. And she says, Mom, I want to tell you something. I said, yeah. She says, I don't want to be here. This job is killing me. I don't like the desk job and I want to come back. I want to anchor. I thought for a minute and I said, she's lived here for 5 years. Now she knows what's like. Now I'm going to tell her what she needs to do. We got a paper. She has it till today with her. We wrote down on the paper what she wants. And I told her to write her weaknesses and her strengths. And then I said, now I will give you a number. When you reach that number, you can pack and come. Because she
Oh.
was a spendthrift.
Well, should we talk about all your flight misses and this?
Or my
that,
staycation tonight in Bangalore. Like, I love it. Like, I'm like, spend money, more will come. And I promise to God, it was actually a taxi driver in Sharjah who told me this. It's bizarre, okay? Like, I think if you're aware and if you're willing to let people, like, what they're saying reach you, it'll at some point become the reality of your life. Like, I remember this taxi driver told me, हमारा पुश्त में तो हमारे पास एक ही दुआ है. हम कहते हैं या खुदा खर्चा बढ़ा.
Acha.
When खर्चा बढ़ा, you will आमदनी बढ़ा, no?
Amdani bada.
No, खर्चा बढ़ा means what you will do with आमदनी. And a taxi driver told me this, yeah. I am very big on खर्चा बढ़ा.
And my philosophy always has been
A penny saved is a
Penny
penny earned.
Well, I guess it's one of those things, right, that are generational. But talking of that, now two of you are very strong. I can see that you had a lot of control over these kids, where they were going,
did.
what was their number going to be, when they'll get the parachute out of this misery. All of that you had control. This couldn't have been easy on the mother-daughter, right? She
Shaili
seems to have
also-
way too many fingers and way too many pies in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And that would mean that you guys,
Shaili
difficult mother or
also-
difficult daughter.
No, Charlie also, I always helped her in the things the way she put it to me. She wanted to do Miss Bangalore. But the conditions that were applied was, I will come with you for your rehearsals every day. I managed my work and I managed to be with her. And I helped her walk. I used to practice with her at home. And she got Miss Beautiful Eyes.
Listen, for that I didn't do anything. To be honest, even she didn't do
The
anything.
walk didn't
okay?
help, clearly.
Really nothing, okay? I'm telling you, she gave me courage. I took part in Miss Bangalore.
Yeah.
2008, 2009, I participated in Miss India Worldwide.
Worldwide,
Nobody knows
yeah.
what this is, but I know. I was there.
Okay.
There also, I want Miss Beautiful Eyes. I want Miss Personality. I'm like, what does this have to do with you? This is a pageant. Like, personality, eyes. So,
Started and
Beauty
then-
word was always a beep, beep, beep at home. I never told her she's beautiful ever because I didn't want it to get to her head. But now I do tell her because I also want to get that
how
compliment.
say, Mom, you're very beautiful.
No, Kubra, let's come to today. We've seen you in the course of the last decade do some really, really different roles. We've seen you embrace a versatility, not just in terms of roles, but also I see you're hosting shows, you're acting, she has literally come back after 15 days on the Brahmaputra, navigating on a raft, staying in a region where there were no other human beings, and she was there with just 8, 10 people. What is this quest to do so many different things, and why?
One, I truly do believe that time is infinite, if you look at it that way. If you think you're spending time doing unnecessary things, you will always be running short of time. Two, for me, I think it's been a very big part of discipline. So for me, an adventure trip is something that needs to happen because that is the time I actually go and connect with myself entirely. Now I'm just grateful that I have more than one modality to go explore it. So I can go climb mountains, or I can spend
So you
15
went
days
to
in a raft.
Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, I've climbed Kilimanjaro, I've climbed Fuji, I've done Odin's Call. Like it's bizarre, but I think the way mom raised me, somehow going straight into the hardest challenge became my easiest way to conquer, that moment for me. So when I didn't know anything, I was rafting the Kali. When I had never climbed a hill, I was climbing Odin's Call. When I didn't know how to swim, I learned how to swim when I was 30. I became a diver. And now I dive like 30 meters into the water. So it's really insane. But I think pick the thing that is hardest for you and go through it because you know what's hard. Go through the hardest thing, and that just starts changing the way your mind perceives reality. For me, yoga does that. Like today, I saw my mom's knees touching the floor, and I'm like, wow, my knees are touching my ears. Do the hardest thing, and eventually your knees will touch the floor. But if you never start, trust me, you will be wearing your knees like jhumka and walking around. So it's really pick the hardest thing and go for it until it becomes easy. And it's been that. And through the process of hard to easy, it's been a process of self-discovery, I think.
Do you think that, and I wonder this about actors, that, there's this thing about staying focused on one thing and going at it and keep sort of honing that craft. Do you think these multiple aspects of your life bring alive the actor in you differently?
Yeah, these are the times I get to spend with myself. And that's the time I get to reflect on all the people I meet in my life. There are so many realizations that happen when you are in the middle of just nature that is untouched, and you don't have a phone, and you don't have external stimuli telling you this is how you should think, this is how you should be. And for me, these conscious moments become journeys of going inside, which is why I love my mom's book, which is Mannan, because it allows you to delve deep inside. And it's insane. Like the world will show you enough ways to look outside, but the real change that you're looking for, seeking, is not happening outside, it's happening inside. So I think being an actor has made me, or at least has put me on the pursuit of wanting to be a better human being. Because as an actor, what I'm doing is portraying myriad human characters. And as an actor, I have zero space to judge my characters. Now imagine in life if I started to judge the people and the community around me less. Wow. I'm actually becoming one with this. So I think the profession of being an actor is somehow truly and surely making me a better human being. And I'm very grateful for it.
You do sound like an Instagram post right now. So I'm going to
Yeah,
poke
I
you a
read
little
a lot
bit.
of Instagram.
Yeah. Because there's this so much belief in looking inward, looking inward. There must be times when you're torn between this desire to be centered, but you know what? That looks glossy. Oh my God, that's popcorn. That's amazing. And then you want it all. I mean, you're what, 40 something? That means that, it's not like you've seen that much of life to be that centered. I'm just wondering, how does Kubra, dying to do everything and wanting to be everywhere, and, the jugmug and the disco lights, deal with this very centered Instagram post person?
I feel it's the foundation. Like we were having a conversation, and my mom said, do you realize that you never ever felt that you never got the thing that you wanted? You always got it. And I said, yeah. So I think she has been pivotal in teaching me to build the foundation towards getting what you want, which means to say that you can have everything in the world, all the glitz, the glamour, the disco balls, you can have everything. But is there a systemic way to get there? And coming to this conversation over like the last 10 years that I'm doing such versatile things, the foundation of that versatility was my mom, being my mom major, being my manager. So I was never speaking my truth or my dreams or my hopes or my aspirations to a stranger hoping things would happen. I was speaking them to my own person.
Who was showing you the mirror many times over.
Extremely. So I think it was her being grounded in that time, not being from the industry, but evolving in the industry. Yeah? Like she was always like, she told me no dream was ever off limits. So when I got Foundation, which is an Apple TV show, I was like, this is one of the things that you're meant to do.
Yeah.
It didn't become like, oh, wow, after this, everything is done. No, it was always, oh, one more thing that we've done. And I think that foundation was very strong. So look at the world and everything is there for you. But now I have the wisdom to pick what I want and also the route to get to pick what I want.
Yeah, and the agency and money.
And the agency.
And I'll talk about that. But you know, Yasmin, earlier in the introduction, we were talking about Manan, your book, which focuses on women over 60. And we were just, you know, we constantly are sort of trapped in that dialogue around ageism without noticing how the excitement today is that, you know, 60 is the new 40, 40 is the new 20, and whatever sort of placeholders one wants. But, you know, the immense experience and badassness that many of the women in your book have. How did you think of sort of bringing those out? And I believe that some of the people featured in the book are very much so here. Why did you feel the need to write that book, and why did you choose 60 as a number?
I was 58 when I had this thing of, because see, as a child, we know we have a lot of restrictions. Do this, don't do this, sit like this, stand like this. And even when you're a teenager, you have more focus on you, you know. So when I was before I turned 60, I was not ready to hang my boots because I wanted to take my life ahead, just like any other number that I was living. And when I was 58, I stepped down from managing Kubra and Danish's work. And now I started that aggressive life of a go-getter only because I wanted them to have a good life. And every achievement of mine was not an achievement. Basically, when you have a goal and you look towards the goal and you're reaching to the goal, I wasn't reaching to the goal. I was reaching myself to them standing and calling me there. So every time I did something was I wanted to upgrade them. It was never to upgrade me or to become a businesswoman or anything like that.
And did that hit you hard? Then listen, where have I been?
Yes, when I was 58, I realized that beyond all these labels, who am I?
I would like
And-
to contribute to this thing. I don't think
Yeah.
it hit my mom as hard as it hit me. Because when she was 19, she was pregnant with me. When I was 27, I was still thinking, oh my God, how am I going to start a new career?
Hmm.
So for me, it became very me oriented. And that's when I was able to recognize that she had no sense of self or me. And everything she was doing was so honest and dedicated and with so much force and so much power and so much clarity. It was never for her, it was always for us. And that was very heartbreaking for me because now I'm this independent woman and I know I've come from an independent woman, but she doesn't recognize her own independence and her own light, which was like a
Yes, Kubra has
really
been-
big
Kubra has
issue
been
for me.
very helpful that way. I mean, even today, she tells me how to dress up and, be. She's always been a mirror for me, which is really nice. And yeah, I did feel very directionless, but I wasn't empty.
No, but she had the light.
I had the thing that
For me,
how
it was
will
like,
I-
why can't you see your own light?
Yeah.
And then you found other women
Because
who
she
were
made
struggling.
me see my light.
Yes, it was
Mm.
COVID time, and I happened to speak to a lot of women, and I understood that that's how it is. Because see, when I was growing up, I saw my mother, my grandmother, the entire
Invisible
family.
eyes in the
They were just
worlds.
I mean, they were just
that they were
living a
living.
life. There was nothing like, there was no word like seniors or elderly. There was no word. They were all human beings. But coming till we came to our age, that things started changing. And then I realized ageism is not coming from the front, it's coming from within you. You are deciding, can I wear red at this age? Can I do this at this age? So that's when I realized that no. And then when I started talking to many women, I thought I should document this now.
Mm.
And that's when I went looking, and I found no woman who was talking what I wanted to hear. And I found very few. And Uma is one of them. And she was so thinking that, I wanted them to be in the book. And there were not many who believed me also, because I was writing a book, something like that. And then the ones who believed are in my book now.
Yeah.
And the book is not preachy. It just talks about life. And also I felt lonely for the first time in my life. That is the time I felt, because I felt that independently, I felt I was nobody. I felt my children were everything for me. And then when I actually self-reflected, I realized that they were very tiny. They needed my help, but instead I took help from them. I was holding twigs, not branches. So I
Right.
had to let go.
Exactly.
When I let go is when I realized that there was some power inside me. And in the last 3 years, I built myself as a speaker, as a philanthropist, as an author, as a storyteller.
Yeah. Just 2
And
weeks
the
ago, we
founder
were
of
on this.
Sunset Finishing School, where I want to, this. It's a space. It's a catalyst where I want to navigate women to understand that age is nothing. I mean, you say age is just a number. I don't believe in that as well, because when it aches, it aches. It can ache even a 30-year-old. Right?
It aches, it aches.
It aches. So you just have to be, just take life as it comes.
Yeah.
And be very mindful. And the day I changed my mindset, in 3 years, I see so much of appreciation and accolades coming my way.
And reinvention. So, what you've done with your book and through these conversations. I mean, I was here about 3 weeks ago and we were on one of these women in tech panels. Yasmin was there as well. It's wonderful to see how one can peel different layers at different decades or
Yes.
half decades of your
Yes.
life. And which is why, Kubra, I can see that she's sort of let go of a fear that she might have clung on to a certain part of life. But for you, what's that one fear that still lurks around, gets you conscious, makes you wonder, can I not?
Like, I got very excited when you pointed out that Bangalore Rani is with a double A,
Yeah.
because now I am not Kubra with a single B, but I am Kubra with double B. So I am that guy. All right. And I'm really fortunate that like life has had like incredible experiences which I've gone through, which bring out like immense like insight and light, right? So when I finished the Brahmaputra trip,
Talk to
I
us a
told
little
you
bit
right?
about this. Yeah, tell us a
When
little
I
bit
came
about
back
this trip.
from Brahma, I called a friend of mine and I shared the videos and I said, "You saw what I did?" And it's insane because it's like grade 5 rapids, grade 5 plus rapids, all right? And you cannot raft a rapid that is greater than grade 5 plus. So we've hit the biggest rapids. We've rafted the 4th largest river in the world. And for the last 20 years, there's only one group that ends up going every year. And this year, it was us who, rafted the mighty Brahmaputra.
31st.
It's insane. When I got back and I showed the videos to a friend of mine, he says, "Wow, Kubra, Seth, you are now fear-free.
Fear-free.
You are not fearless."
Oh, what's the difference?
I feel like we all tend to carry this sense of like fear, and then we are very proud when we feel like we have less fear in us. But imagine if we looked at ourselves from a place of having freedom from fear and said, I would not fear that, no matter what. Because I feel like after years of therapy as well, we conceive everything around us as a threat. Our amygdala is meant to like fire up. Our limbic system is meant to fire up when we see a tiger. But our limbic system fires up when we see traffic. Our limbic system fires up when mother said no. Our limbic system fires up when, oh my God, I have to come on stage. And none of this is the tiger. And imagine we all are living our life with such contribution and such greatness, saying, oh, I am fearless. Respectfully, no power in being fearless. I think for me, my new quest, because I've lived fearlessly, is to now live fear-freely. Yeah.
Very well said. And I wouldn't have thought of that, especially when you think of fear-free. But I find it very interesting that your friend connected this to physical endurance. In our world every day, right, on Instagram, within families, from grandchildren to grandmothers, we're celebrating 80-year-old lifted 80 kilos in the gym. Or like young folks are like trying all kinds of innovative stuff. Physical strength has become a very centerpiece to, yes, the buzzword in Bangalore, longevity. But outside of that as well, there is a great quest to think that that's what also rewires your brain. And I see you morning till evening just at some machine, some workout, some Pilates. Do you think that that switch is beginning to happen among us folks, saying that physical strength is such an underrated therapy of the mind?
I agree, but I think the second you decide to do it, you realize that this is something you need to do for the rest of your life.
Can I add?
It's a
Yes,
commitment.
yes,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
important because yes.
So, yeah. So when you go to the doctor and say, I have a knee pain or something like that, they clearly suggest a knee replacement. What they don't tell you is if you work around the muscles of your knee, you can be fine. So I have understood one thing, that if your muscles, if you have good quality of muscles, you don't get old. Why one struggles to get up from the chair? Because their muscles are not strong. I work out every single day. And it's not about lifting 5 kilos or 10 kilos. It's your mindset. And it's not that today I did it, I will be fine. No, it needs to be consistent and it needs to be disciplined when you do things. It have to be disciplined. And the thing is like, I think it is about doing it for yourself. We do so many things like, Kubra, she does acting and she does her, hosting and everything. But if she, when I see her working out, I feel she's working on Project Me, the way I'm working on Project Me. Project Me, nobody takes it serious because nobody is paying you for it. Project Me is very important.
That's true.
You know, I have to tell you this about physical fitness, and that's been a big journey, right? For mom and me, both of us actually. It was bizarre, and I think for me, it still is borderline funny. I remember going to the physio, and my physio said, "Arey, your upper back is very tight." I said, No, it's hereditary. My mother also has a hunch. I also have a hunch. And he said, hunch is not hereditary. And we can fix your hunch. And when I started fixing my hunch, like I had this neck hump, which I still do actually, but that's lifestyle today, right? Because we're always on the phone. I didn't know that my posture was a lifestyle miss on my end. And then when my back started getting straight, I told my mom, yours is not hereditary. You can fix your back. Please tell that story, Mom.
Yeah. So in 2020, when I went to Bombay, her physiotherapist said that we can fix this. I said, no, I don't want something to be broken inside. It's hereditary. He said, pick your pictures from your childhood and see if you had then, you will have it now.
Yeah.
And I didn't have it. So I believed in him and I started working out. One was, she was pressurizing me every time we had, heated arguments on that. But when
I can be like that, guys.
Akshay told me, I agreed to him and I started. So my journey from 2020 August on till today, I'm working on my back.
That's amazing. I think, one of the things I work now in health, particularly menopausal health, and constant conversations on the table are really about when can we help women start. It's not about how long
Now.
they'll go. It's
Yeah.
like, when do we help them start?
Start.
No.
And it's an important conversation. And I have a habit of bringing this always on main stage purposely because I feel that we just are so focused on knowing what are your next big movies, you know. But I'm going to ask that question nonetheless. Not so much as what's next, but like the roles that you've loved doing, why you've loved doing them, and go from, was it Sacred Games to now? Just what has been the stuff that Kubra likes to have changed in her to these roles?
I feel like today I have agency to pick a good script. Like when you hear interviews of people who've been working, say, for 25 years, right? They're like, oh, the power is in saying no. But when you are a nobody, you don't have power to say no. You only have wisdom to say yes. So I feel when you're at the beginning of your career, please be the yes and person. Only when you reach a level in your career in life where you know you are independent of making your decisions and contribution to the industry, and you can be this from the beginning or you can be this at wherever stage you can choose to be in life. This is how I understood the industry that is already established, right? You get an opportunity, say yes and do it, and then don't think about the outcome. So for me, one of those big leaps of faith was doing the role of the maid in this film called Ready with Salman Khan. Who is going to give an opportunity to someone who's not even known, who has never been on screen, but now she's in this front facing role with Salman Khan? And I didn't do one, I did two films. Now, this is the interesting thing, that it allowed me to foray into acting, but I didn't feel like an actor. The first time I felt I was an actor was the day I had to stop emphasizing other people to call me an actor. Other people called me an actor. And then I was like, oh, so if you act, people will think you're an actor. If you don't act, people will not consider you an actor. But thereon, it has been a journey where I'm like, oh, I'm now going to invest in studying the craft. I'm going to go take workshops. I'm going to be better at understanding how to read my script. It was something I had never done before. I thought I had an idea because I had seen things happen on screen, but what happens behind the screen was something that I was learning. And there has been this thing around, oh, wow, you are bold, you are strong, you are typecast. Great. At least I get into the room because I am typecast to look a certain way. When I go in there, speak, who knows, yaar, that casting director may have a change of heart and be like, ye to kafi emotional hai, yaar. What if we tried, like, the beautiful word was like beeped in my house, right? It was off limits. But I go into a room and someone else is able to see my beauty in a room, which is why when I did this role of Ria in Jawani Jaane Man, I have never looked prettier. And I don't think I've ever looked as pretty on screen because I'm always like, oh, you're the bad guy, you're the hard guy, you're the broken guy, you're the beaten guy. You, girl, but still, like, there's such masculinity that I felt like as an actor, I have rarely ever been able to like look at the female fragility, the femininity in the work that I do. But today it's my endeavor to bring that sensitivity in everything and I do. And I think Cuckoo, the character in Sacred Games, was that big door that we slammed down. And there was so much contradiction in it. There was so much compassion in it. There was so much chaos in it. But what happened is that at the end of the process, where I was not thinking of the outcome, I was just thinking of, yes, and do this job because it's happening. It built a community for me.
I think that maybe you're one of the few actors I've seen who spends more time talking about embracing whatever's coming your way. I've seen so many actors come by in discussions with me who actually spend majority of time talking about why they didn't do something rather than why they did. And I think that seems to tie in with what and how Yasmin has brought you up. Perhaps because you didn't have a history of being Nepo baby either.
Yeah, I had zero to
Yeah.
lose when I come to Bombay. I
Yeah.
have nothing to lose. That means I have everything to win. And she always made me look at life like that. I remember when I called her as well, she was like, yeah. And I swear I was afraid. I was like, is she okay? Did she hear the right words? Did she really say? Because I remember that number that she had told me, I hadn't hit that number. I had hit a different number, lesser than that. But I still called her with confidence and I said, Mom, this is not what I've done. This is what I've been able to. Start packing your bags and come, she said.
And another thing she said is, I don't want to stay in Bangalore. I want to stay in Bombay. Go.
I think there are choices you have to make. Like we were talking about this. Sometimes going out of your city makes you want to come back to it, in different ways. But I want to ask one question that's sort of joined at the hip with the previous one, which is really how, when you land up in these situations and you've said yes, what if you land up with a terrible co star? What's your escape route? I mean, I know you can't escape it, but
You cry a lot.
really? Are you
I've
serious?
cried a lot. Yeah.
Wow.
I've cried and wept and gone to my therapist. A lot.
This sounds serious.
Yeah. This is serious. Because it's a very emotional job that you're doing, and you are going to run into places that are deeply uncomfortable and extremely unsettling. But if you don't choose to learn something out of it, or you make the mistake of saying every film set is this, you are going to end up losing. One film set was bad, not every film set.
Kubra, if we were not in today's OTT world or watching stuff on our mobile, do you think you could have survived the film stardom of the big screen story?
I don't think I have waited for the rest of the world to give me validation for who I am. So if like we were talking about this yesterday, right? I know you weren't there yesterday, but we were there yesterday. But literally,
Check it
like
out.
there have been highs and then there have been lows. But in those lows, I was always rediscovering myself. I wrote a book. I became a storyteller. I started hosting events. I did this. I did that. Don't stop yourself. Don't.
You
That-
should
that-
keep, yeah, you should keep reinventing the wheel every time you feel. And also another very beautiful thing in 2014, she got me a ticket for US and she just asked me to go on a solo trip when I had not even gone.
How old were you?
I was 50.
My mother.
Yeah.
Be independent. Be independent. Be independent. Kahan jaun? Kaisa rahu independent? No problem. Gave her a ticket and said, go to US.
Mother's Day. She
Mother's
said
Day.
that-
We gave her a gift. We bought her a ticket.
And I was
Go.
not, I was like, and all her friends in Bombay who knew her said, Kubra, you're being harsh on her. Please don't do that to her. Look at her face. Look at her.
This is your Dubai moment. She didn't say that to you.
He didn't say that, but now I realized, you know.
I also realized just now.
Yes, even I. It was,
And she didn't even give you a number.
no.
Okay.
And I just left. And you know what I did when I went there? For almost, I think, 15 days, I didn't give her the number of US. I didn't
Correct.
contact her at all. She was worried. She had no way how to track me. And whenever I went there and I put up saying that I'm in LA, I found people coming and meeting me.
Wow. How nice.
I said I'm in New York, people came and met me. So I realized that you can't be anywhere and say that, I don't want, I'll just find myself so isolated that nobody will know me.
I'm just thinking the pressure of tests you have put each other on over the course of your life. That's quite a bit.
I think what I did to her in her earlier life, she did to me in my later
Gave
life.
it back in full kind and
Full
and
kind.
tickets.
Oof. And that was the first time I learned about Airbnb. I started living in Airbnb because I'm scared of staying in a hotel room because they have the duplicate key to come inside.
Oh.
So I like the Airbnb where I can lock.
Now, when you go back, please close the door and see there's a chain also. Save you.
No, now I have Tanaya, so I'm comfortable.
okay, Tanaya.
That's true. Okay, I want to actually open up the conversation to everyone here. We have about 40 minutes. And the idea of hosting this isn't so much for it to be just a stage conversation. We want it to be in the spirit of a conversation. So we'd love to pass the mic around for questions. And you don't have to keep them around the theme that we have. I mean, Kubra hasn't given me a list of no's. Like she said, she likes people who say yes. So she's going to say yes to any question that you ask. So please feel free.
Yeah, exactly. But mom, I feel like over the years I've recognized that it's so bizarre, but like growing up with you, like being with you, there have been times when I felt like I was your conjoined twin.
Because
No?
we used to wear clothes of the same color.
Yeah.
And we used to twin.
Yeah.
Before the hashtag came around, twinning.
Yeah.
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 And we were talking about this earlier, and literally, like, mom has been so important and such a pivotal part of my life that she became an important part of the people who worked in my life. And the relationship
said, she
strain
was
that
the
you were
billboard.
talking about, they used to call her mama, mama Seth. And there was a time when I stopped calling her mama. She was on my phone as Yasmin Seth. So I would call her and say Yasmin. And it was, I think, shocking for her initially.
Initially, it was.
And you did that because you wanted her to de-link from the mama identity.
Yeah, it was everyone's calling you mama. And I felt no exclusivity of being her daughter. And I'm like, what nonsense is that? Everyone's calling you mama, mama, mama. You know what? You are Yasmin. I'll call you Yasmin. You respond as Yasmin. And then that was so difficult for her initially.
You remember, Kubra? She refused to do one event because that guy said, call me mama. I'm like your son, he said. He said, I'm not doing this event. How can he be your son? I'm your daughter. I don't want to do this
Yeah,
event.
I don't want.
Good. I think it's nice. I like that you both are making the idea of a difficult mother-daughter relationship seem quite palatable right now.
No, but really,
I
I
am
think
so
we
glad I'm
become
not on those
friends now.
chairs.
No, but I really feel my mom has become my friend today. And there was a very large part of my life where I wanted my mom included in every part of my life. And I guess it was cyclical because she had me involved in every single, like, I used to finish school, I used to be in her supermarket. There was never a time that I spent away from my mom building my personality. So there was a large part where I was trying to give back to her, but I was like, you come and be a part of my life.
That's right.
And I felt it was token friendship. But it's only last 3 years, 4 years.
I think that's brought us more closer now.
I agree. So we are not like troubled, assuring you. We're
Though we used to
actually
travel,
really
we
good.
used to-
It
we
helps
traveled
when
the
you go
world
together
together.
to retro nights at bars like we were
Yeah,
at last
we went to
night.
AKA, as they say on Instagram. AKA, ask me anything.
Hi, it's almost good afternoon, I think. It was so lovely to meet mom and daughter on the same stage. And as a guest, it is the first time. I'm so happy to be here and to hug both of them. And then somehow or the other, when I went to Mysore to meet her for a meet, she told me, why didn't you wear this red one? I had not worn it that evening at Tina's. Now, somehow, you see, both of us are wearing red.
Yeah, I just noticed that one. I just
So, yeah. And
So
so, that's
sweet.
why I'm happy that I got red bunch of flowers for her also.
Uh-huh.
And somehow, I don't know, it just fell into place. Kubra has worn that color, which fortunately I got bunch also of that color. So I think I believe in coincidences.
Yes.
Because suddenly she calls me one day, taking our very great friends. I mean, both of us know her very well from Sterling House days, Tazayun. So she referred my name to her. And you know how she came? I was just flabbergasted when I went out to say bye to her. She's all in her habit, the black habit, whatever you call, and in an auto. And I knew that she was Mr. Aziz Seth's daughter. I said, what happened to all the, henchmen, gunmen, footmen? How come you come alone? And she said, I didn't want anybody to know who I am. So she walks into my apartment. And later on, much later on, after we became very great friends later, she told me, you treated me like this. You did not, treat me properly at the first Oh, I said, I don't know. I was a single woman again, struggling as she was with 3 kids to raise up. And I was just trying to make my ends meet. But then now, having years of friendship, I have also done the same thing, like what she's trying to do now is detachment with love
That's
with
very
my
nice.
kids. Nobody has gone abroad. Everybody is there, 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, 3 kilometers. I did not even tell them that I moved to a retirement home. I stood on the steps and sent them a photo. Here I am. Don't try to come. It's okay. I'm okay here. So these things you learn, from her. She inspired me that you can do it. And I'm happy I did it, Yasmin, for all your love and affection.
Thank you, Ma.
So sweet.
And
Thank
I
you.
loved meeting
you.
your son so much, Danish. To meet him in person was some other high, because we only see him on screen, right? Not the real person he is. And so loving, so sweetly he came and sat with us, spent time with us. I'm so happy to have known you and knowing your background. I really appreciate what you're doing in Mysore. At last, she wanted to be Yasmin Seth. And not
Very
a
well
mom
said.
major, and not
Very
a
well
mom major.
said.
All of us have been mom majors for so long. Even
Very
my
well said.
children, they still hang on to me. But one pride is they're still continuing holding up my flag as Uma's Realty.
Exactly.
Yeah, I started in Awake. We were one of the founder members of Awake, in fact, one of the 7. Last week also we had a run. Lot of young women entrepreneurs were there. And they were shocked to see me still alive and kicking, going for walk. And last week I went for Pinkathon. I support visually impaired children now. So, these things, Kubra, she's also done the same thing. She's just following in mom's footsteps. She knows that she's not going to let go of her in that way to suffer. And she's taken such a pride.
Thank you so much. That's so wonderful of you to
Thank
share.
you.
It's been very
Thank
kind
you.
of you to
Thank
bring
you.
alive, Yasmin from that side.
Yes, yes.
It's wonderful.
Now she is liberated.
Thank-
And yes, and both of us now started delving deeper into ourselves.
Yeah,
We're trying to
indeed.
recognize who I am. That question is always there, from olden Hinduism times. Try to find out who you are. Go deeper.
So I actually, I've known Kubra and Auntie for like, I don't know, 20, 25 years, I guess. More,
I was
no?
13 when I met you. You were 6.
Okay. Yes. So a very, very long time. And like for everybody here, they're just the same. Like Kubs, when I meet you, it's the same. Like, when I was 6 and you were 13 and we used to hug and jump, and that's exactly how it is today. And it's just so beautiful to see that, who you are. There's so much, of course, like when I watch your videos or, hear both of you talking now. By the way, this talk is so beautiful. Thank you for that. And just to see what has come of you all these years, there's so much growth that has happened inside as a person, and there's so much spiritual growth. And I've like been, with aunties specifically through all of this journey, but even more because you're in a space wherein you're out there in the world, and it's so easy to kind of get lost in the image that you're putting out there in front of people. You've still managed to keep this as well as grow in it, and I feel like that's really an accomplishment. So
Kubra, what she's saying
thank
takes
you
me to
for
your
that.
human,
Yeah.
pose. Yeah.
And I want to ask you like how you're able to do that in terms of not getting lost in the image of what you create. Like you are different. Who you are as a person is different than what you're creating out there in the world. And I think to understand that for every person on the earth, I think that's important. Like this is a question to both of you about how you're able to keep that detachment from what you're doing. Like how you said, हाँ ठीक है अभी I'm taking a break. अच्छा now I will write. And I'm not allowing the
How do you do
the
it?
world that is looking at me in a particular way.
You go first. Yeah.
I think when you stop competing with the world and you compete with your own self, and every time you you take the yardstick to see how much have I grown, how beautifully have I grown, and that should be your benchmark. Yesterday I was here, today I am here. And if you are not, then you start working on yourself. Like, for example, there was a time when I used to tell Kubra a problem. If I had a problem, you should have the ability to open up, right? And if I open up to Kubra, there would be another problem added to it because she would never listen to me. And recently we both spoke, and it just was so beautiful. And when I kept the phone, I felt like there was a kind of a peace that covered me with. So I think it takes time, but if one starts working on themselves, I know it's not an easy thing. It has to be a continuous thing, and it needs to be followed up regularly, and
With its own share of
with
trial
his
and
own
error.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'll come one day. But the moment you start validation from outside, like for example, I have learned now that all our life we are thinking that somebody is thinking about you, but today I realized nobody has the time to think about you. You are procrastinating that somebody is thinking about you. So I think if we let go uh, certain ways in life, you can be a better person.
So
In
Kubra,
fact, now
yeah.
Kubra, I just see growth in her, and I'm so happy about it.
Actually, I want to just sort of
Yeah.
pinch a little bit on this
Yeah.
question, because you know why? The it seems that it's easy, but it's not.
It's not.
And this journey is full of errors. I'm just wondering, the Kubra in her 30s found it easier, or do you think that wisdom sort of arrived one day and then you feel like, okay, I can detach?
Wow,
Yes.
what a good question.
Yeah.
When you are confused, lost, and trapped in the vicious cycle, there is no wisdom. You just have this constant, like for example, when I'm rafting the Brahmaputra, I know that rapid is going to last for a minute, but the rest of it is a straight, like, path, right? Like, after this minute, it will get calm. But I don't look at it like that in life. When I'm confused, I'm not looking at this moment to be challenging and difficult right now, and after this minute it's going to be okay. You're just continuously lost in that vicious cycle, constantly, yeah, stuck in that vicious cycle. And I remember it was 2019 when I literally said this to myself. I said, I want to meet myself. That became the catalyst for me to change.
I want to ask an unusual question that's linked to this. I wonder if you allow your mind to start thinking about these things because perhaps you have broken away from the survival mode. Did it get easier as there was some success, lots of money, little more stability? I'm just curious because you know,
So all of this happens, and I will be happy if I'm successful. I will be content if that film does this. I will be joyous if I went 1 week to the gym. No, go every day to the gym. Go and work on that film every day. Do everything, and don't attach your personal joy or your spirit. Don't tie it down to the outcome of what you're doing. That needs to be separate from what you're doing. So just, if you're doing how do I explain this? This little, like, so when I'm in interviews, right? I have people asking me, so please tell me about your struggles. And I'm like, I don't understand what struggles, because this is what I chose to do. And when you choose to do something and then becomes a struggle for you, now that is something you need to consider. Because if you're working towards something, it should excite you, it should make you joyous, and it should be able to give you a space to realize how can you do things differently, not better, differently. Because as human beings, I think we all are one. What separates us is our perspective. And it is way too many perspectives. So pick your perspective and honor your perspective.
And if there are no
And then be
challenges,
okay.
if there are no challenges, then there is no success.
Nah.
I'm so happy I didn't say this. I didn't ask you the question on struggles.
Hi, Kubra and Yasmin. Thank you for holding space for such a lovely conversation today. I have a rather frivolous question actually about Kubra, your cats, Shifu and Sexy. Can you tell me a little about what has been the best part about being a cat mom? And would you say there's something philosophical that you have learned from being a cat mom?
Oh, well, by the way, I just learned that you have cats, but I'm very excited about this question.
Again, I'm cat mom because my mom is a cat mom. And I've had cats since the time I was 4. And it's really funny. A few days ago, I sent my mom an Instagram reel of all these kids torturing kittens. And my mom very proudly said, "You've done all of this."
Really?
You were one.
You-
I was 4 when I had cats. You were
No,
1 when you had cats.
No, I'm saying
Dicky.
that when I sent you
Yeah.
that
Yeah, yeah.
video of children torturing
Yes.
kittens, you said you've done all of this.
All of this. Yes.
Yes. So I have been torturing kittens since I was a kid. And now I have 2 cats. My mom has 2. And I think the one thing that I can definitely say I've learned from my cats is give 0 Fs.
That should be an easy lesson from cats.
That is an incredible lesson that you can get from cats. 0 Fs.
Yeah.
If they like you, they like you. They'll come, they spend 2 minutes, they left. They're not there to please, they're not there to
Yeah.
perform.
And don't let her get to your head, is what they'll say.
Not
Yeah.
at all. Oh, you liked me? Ah. Don't think now you are liked by me. You like me, keep it there.
Episode.
And I am yeah, and I am gone. And the other thing that I love and so empowering, about cats is that they can sit and lick their buttholes anywhere. They're so comfortable with their bodies.
Yeah.
Like it's so funny. Like my cat Shifu is 13 years old and he's a white Persian. And he lift his leg up like that and like he's playing the sitar, he's like cleaning his butthole. And he doesn't care. He does not care who's there in the room, who's not there. And I feel like as women, as human beings, imagine that day when we get comfortable with our bodies. Like no one needs to tell us, wow, you've lost weight, wow, you've become this, wow, you become that. It's not your business to tell me about my body. You talk about your body. But when you come and put your judgment on my body, you're taking away from the hard work that I am doing on my mind and body. So maybe it's time for us to reflect on the kind of conversations we have with ourselves, which in turn allow us to have conversations with others. My body is not your business. So, no. You may visually see I've become thin. Wow, yeah, you become thin. No, that was never my goal.
Listen,
my-
this Shifu is going to make this clip viral, okay? Okay,
Our goal is to be hot and
Hot.
strong, which I am.
Yeah, hi, Yasmin, you're glowing in red.
Thank
Oh,
you
it's
so
very
much.
nice.
Thank you.
So I just want, it's a personal question though. While your children were in school, who was your 3 a.m. friend? Because at that time you need a lot of support. Otherwise, people stay at home to be that 3 a.m. person for the children. Thank you.
I don't know. Fortunately, unfortunately, I was my 3 a.m. friend. I stayed awake in the night. I went to my kids' room and I watched them sleep with so much peace. And I thought they trust me and I need to become strong for them. I did it many nights like that.
Oh, I didn't know I was sleeping.
I would just go and I would just watch them sleep
Aw.
so peacefully. And I felt that they're so comfortable, they're peaceful. They know that somebody is covering their back. And I need to stand up more stronger.
Mama, now do you have friends?
Yes, I do have. Now, actually, I really have friends now.
She's actually going to life in reverse, which is
Yes.
brilliant.
Yes.
I'll tell you this. The day you called my mom Bangalore Rani, right? And I remember sitting on this one vacation with my mom, enjoying the view and
Oh, even
chit
I thought
chatting.
about it. Rome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rome.
In Venice, actually. Yeah. Like we were in Venice, and over this meal, I asked my mom, I said, Mom, what is it that you always wanted to be? And I thought I'll get like some big, like strong Alexander the Great answer, right? And she said, Wow. You know, when I grew up, I always wanted to be a princess, she said. And it's so bizarre because at that time I was like, but mom, why you wanted to be a princess? You are the queen. You are. And she said, no, I wanted to be Princess Beta, she said. So amazing. I didn't know that about how gentle my mom was. I didn't know how vulnerable she really was until that day. And I didn't know what to do with that vulnerability.
Yeah,
Maybe today
I
we do.
just
And she
realized
couldn't
that
give in to it.
She couldn't give in
I
to it.
think I wanted to be loved and cared,
Yeah,
as a
I hear you.
princess, because I
Mm.
used to read all those fairy tales and I
I know.
wanted to be like that.
Hi, Yasmin and Kubra. It's always empowering to see a solid mother daughter duo. I'm in my 30s and my mother is also in her 60s. So I wanted to ask that after an age, there is a role reversal, right? We start like parenting our parents. So, like, how can I empower my mother without being a parent? Like, she has been independent all her life. She has worked, supportive spouse, great family, and things like that, but now I feel that there are times when I have to parent her. So how can I empower her without parenting her? And second part is, there are times that it happens that as a daughter you always look out for your mother. So how can I put forward myself at times without having to suppress my interest and not having to parent my parents or my mother?
Can I take this?
Yeah, it's for you only.
Yeah. So most of this generation that I see, they try to parent their parents. So I think you should stop doing that.
Simple.
Yeah, because they also know what. Okay, you can have a nice healthy conversation where you can make them do things without their knowledge. And when you're preachy, the first thing that comes to our mind is, I've seen it all, I don't want to listen to you. That's the thing, because even as we are growing older, we also have a mind of our own. And actually, I don't really think before I speak sometimes, because I feel it's okay. I just want to have unfiltered conversation, you know. So don't parent your parents.
No, it was really interesting, right? For the longest time, when mom and I went out to eat a meal at a restaurant, it would piss me off because my mom would never know what she wants to eat.
No. And when I got independent, I realized I didn't know about my likes, dislikes, what to wear. She got me clothes and I wore them. And today I have a style of my own.
Absolutely, as we can see.
I feel like, the independence that we speak of is the ability to make choices. And the older our parents get, they feel the choices they have to make are limited, which kind of like takes away from the language they know. So maybe as a child to your parent, like, let's not become parents to our parents, but if we remained children in front of our parents and provided them a space where they could still make choices, they will continue to be independent in their mind. And then we are not steering the wheel for them, they will steer it for themselves. So if you made that choice process easier, like if you recognize, even now that you're 30, if someone says, do you want to go here, there, they're like, can you just tell me one place? And then I'll tell you yes or no. So I think if you start limiting the choices to your parents, you will see it gets easier for them to respond to that. And that can be one way to bridge the gap. Instead of you saying, oh, but I gave you 3 choices, you didn't pick any. I got confused.
Also, the people who come from our generation, we had very limited exposure, unlike you have today. And also, the thing is, like, when with those not everybody is moving with the time that is changing, because we don't have access. Like, if they have the access, then they can also know what they want. So if you can show them the access, show them the way things are functioning now, will be better. I
Yeah.
really think sometimes, there are parents.
If you
who-
live your best life, your mom will live her best life.
best life. And I've seen
Like
parents
Valerie,
who
yeah.
wait for
Yeah.
an Uber to be booked by their children who are sitting in another city.
Yeah.
They don't want to learn. They don't want to change. I think that needs to break.
Fair.
We need to change with the time if we need coexistence of two generations. We have to learn.
Two
Only
very
when-
hard-headed generations. By the way,
Hard-headed
one could say
generations,
that about
yes.
this particular time.
Hi. Maybe my being here and the question that I would like to be answered, that question would actually be for the whole audience as well as for the people sitting there.
Lovely.
So, first of all, let me give you half a minute of my own introduction. I, as a person, have been independent all my life. I mean, I make my choices, I do everything I want to do. And I've been in the IT sector for almost 30 years. And then I was running my own business in e-commerce. But during COVID, all the businesses came down. So at that moment, I actually decided to pursue a course in law, for which I had to appear for a pan-India competition. Unfortunately, I got into the law faculty in Delhi University.
Wow.
Yeah. So now that I have completed it, and now I'm an advocate in the Delhi courts, I would actually like to help all the strata, like from girls from 13, 14 years to all the ages, to educate them about their rights. Because it's the rights which are not known to the girls, right
That
from
lead to-
school,
Sure.
through marriage, through, all their lives.
What would you like to ask Kubra and Yasmin?
Yeah, that is why I said my question may not be exactly what it
Sure.
is.
So, but I love the point on rights because I think that's something both of them can address.
Yeah. So
may-
I'm actually looking for associations, like people to people
it.
associations, to
To build that movement and dialogue.
take a movement
Sure,
for taking this forward.
Got it.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Komal Nadik. I'm a freelance journalist
Yeah.
based in Bengaluru. So I'm really touched by a bond you both share. Even I and my mother shared the same bond. She is my best friend. She passed away in 2024. So my question to you, both of you, is how to live without a mother. Can you become your own best friend?
I
What
am
is your
so
name?
sorry.
My name is Komal Nadik.
Komal, can I give you a hug?
Yes.
Okay, good. Come, let's do that first. Komal, first of all, your name is so lovely. It's gentle, right? So, first of all, be gentle with yourself. Be your name. Your name was not given to you by mistake. It was given to you with intention. Like my mom gave me my name with intention. She said, "You're the greatest. You are Komal. Be gentle with yourself." And as women, I think we forget to be gentle. That's our superpower. So let's remember to be gentle with ourselves. And to answer your question, I used to have a lot of trouble with this lady. Extremely trouble. She's alive. Great. I'm very fortunate. But God, I had an issue with the way she was, doing things for us. It was just that thing, right? And I spoke to my therapist, and I remember my therapist asked me to draw out a blank page. And she said, if I were my mother, I would. And I listed the things that I would want my mom to do for me. And I started ticking off the boxes by doing them for myself. And that actually brought me closer to my mom. Because then I didn't have expectations that you didn't do it this way. Let me do it the way I want to, which will bring me closer to you. And what blew my mind is the fact that you said, my mother and I are best friends. And she passed away in 2024. The fact that you are still best friends with your mom, my only request to you, because I will never, it would be very hard and would be fake for me to say that I understand your pain, but I empathize with your pain right now. But just know that you're guided and you're blessed and you can parent yourself and you're going to be okay. You are okay. Yeah? You are okay. You are okay. You know, we all need people to make our worlds better, and we think that, oh, this relationship is going to complete me, my partner is going to complete me, this is going to complete me. You are the sum of all the parts that make you whole. So go ahead and tick those boxes. And that's a long process because there are so many things you want to. Mama, you want to say something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing is, like every human being who grows up with their parents, especially the mother, the first 5 years are very, very important. The kind of love and the kind of trust that you show your child. And once the child is out in the world, the universe takes over. And that's when your mother's not with you everywhere. You have to play your mother for yourself.
And you know, when we talk about mothers, we talk about like mother in the real like relationship aspect or the title or the tag. But look around you, you have Mother Nature.
Yeah.
You always have femininity and motherhood around you. It's really, do you have the expanse in your mind to recognize that? You can be nurtured in this life through more means and more ways than one. And in our minds, sometimes we think, oh, I lost mom and I lost everything. But imagine that created a doorway for you to see the expanse of the world, the light of the rest of the world, and the love that the rest of the world can offer you. So lean into that.
Thank you very much. I do have to say that I can't possibly go to another question at this point because I really think it sort of brought together so many thoughts that we began this conversation with. So I just want to personally thank both of you for making this journey from Bombay, and Yasmin for telling us this is the first time the two of you are on stage. What a privilege! And as I thank you, I want to say that I've known both of you in different capacities for many years. But I've found that through this conversation, not only have I got to know so many different sides of you, but the fact that you're deeply sensitive people. And I can't always say that about everyone. So I just wanted to thank you for being on this inaugural Bangalore Rani with us and spending all your time pouring out your absolute, genuine human self. Thank you.
We both are very unlike, like you said, we both are very sensitive from inside. But we come across like strong people. But now, those guards are falling off and we accept that we are sensitive at times.
And it's a good idea to let go, I suppose. And that gives
Yes.
me the opportunity to just remind all of you that both their books are outside. And of course, they're here for conversation, as in the right spirit of BIC and everything that's done here. Just want to quickly thank BIC for hosting this for us and being our partners in this. And we look forward to doing this every quarter with different Bangalore Ranis and the Queen Energy on stage. Thank you both so much.
Thank you so much.